Hey, how's things? It's Ben here from Dynamic 4 and Sydney Design Thinking. Just about to go in and set up for our first SydDT of the year. Welcome to Sydney Design Thinking number 108, and we're doing visual thinking with Alan and Dee from Shapeshifters, so we're in for a fun night. And to kick off, just want to acknowledge that we're on Gadigal country and pay my respects to elders past, present and future as well. So we're lucky to have a bunch of awesome sponsors and supporters that help make SydDT happen every month. Without our sponsors, we don't get to do this. So a huge thanks to ThoughtWorks, and Kate is right there. What does ThoughtWorks do? Thank you. And what does ThoughtWorks do?
I think I actually need this tonight. There's such a big crowd. So ThoughtWorks is a custom software company. We've been around for 32 years, something like that, as long as the internet. In building custom software, we need a lot of design thinking. So we have designers, we've got hundreds of designers around the world. But the thing about design thinking, it's really a cross-functional discipline. So everyone can be a designer, whether you're a developer, data scientist, product manager. So we take a very cross-functional approach to the work of design. And that's how we get our best ideas, is actually pulling in all of those different contexts and areas of discipline to solve really challenging problems. So that's ThoughtWorks. We're all around the world now.
Awesome. So thanks, ThoughtWorks. And I'm Ben from Dynamic 4. We're a social enterprise and B Corp, and everything that we do is focused on how do we use leadership, design and innovation to then help create the conditions for people and communities to be happier and live on a nice, healthy, clean planet as well. And how do we do that with purpose and well-being wrapped around it? So if any of that kind of stuff sounds interesting, come and have a yarn. And the clicker's still not working. And the team that bring this to you every month, lovingly, for almost 10 years. So June will be our 10th birthday. And so Kate, you've already heard from. Kylie is going to do a shout out in a minute as well. And Lucas. So thanks to the team. And a huge thanks to all of you for being the community that is Sydney Design Thinking. So as at this morning, we're at 9,800 members. Just shy of. So we're on that final little lift to 10,000. So June is our 10th birthday. So you need to go out there and recruit another 198 people so we hit our target for our 10th birthday. Get all the nice round numbers. So thanks for being a huge part of the community. Got plenty coming up for 2025, and tonight's an awesome way to kick off with Alan and Dee and everyone here. And it's not going to be a big talk fest, you're actually going to be sketching. So it's going to be a fun night tonight. And then you might have seen that we're actually helping a group in Adelaide spin up Adelaide Design Thinking. So that actually launches next week. So if you're going to be in Adelaide over the coming months, look out for Adelaide Design Thinking. At the moment it will be the third Thursday of the month, but every second month. But that will change. Keep an eye. I'll keep sharing what's going on. The chat.syddt.org will take you to a LinkedIn group where you can continue the chat, and we've renamed that recently to Australia Design Thinking, so we can just have one online place for all the people who want to get in the mix rather than it sort of being fragmented. So there'll be plenty of events, articles, and it's not supposed to be a broadcast channel. So if you've got interesting stuff to share, not flogging stuff, but insightful articles and interesting events and things coming up, please feel free to share. It's not just us as a broadcast channel. And then Kylie. tell us about March.
Yes, so for March we're going to have our International Women's Day event, and this year's theme is Accelerate Action. So we really wanted to bring to you guys something that you can apply straight away. So we've got Kristen De La Fuente who's going to be speaking, and the first half she's going to be giving us tools and frameworks which are going to support AI-generated outputs to make them more inclusive and free from gender bias. And for the second half, she's actually going to ask the crowd to help us live user test a prototype that she has built, which will be free and accessible for everyone to use after. So yes, looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you, Kylie, and doing another awesome job, organising another awesome International Women's Day event. And then just to round out, the next things coming up in the next few weeks, I'll be up at Byron Bay, because it's fun. And IXDA Byron Bay has asked me to come and give a chat on regenerative design and innovation and leadership. So I'll be speaking at IXDA, but then also running a workshop up there. At the moment, it's a closed one with the Byron Bay Wildlife Sanctuary, but looking at possibly running another one up there. So if you're going to be in Byron on the 26th of March, then come and hang out, that'll be fun as well. That QR code will get you to the one place where you can see all the things. Make it nice and easy. So that stuff coming up. One other thing coming up. Where's Steve gone?
Yep.
There he is. Steve's got something to share with us.
Hi everyone. Thanks, Ben. So I'm Steve Beatty. Over the years, I have hosted the UX Australia conference, which we sadly were not able to run last year. But tomorrow morning, we'll be announcing the conference UX Australia for 2025 as a collaboration with the folks at Web Directions. So we will be co-hosting or co-producing a UX Australia conference in Melbourne Wednesday and Thursday, the 27th and 28th of August. But the official launch for that will be tomorrow morning, so keep an eye out for it. Very, very happy to have it back online. Thanks, Ben.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve, and thanks for everything that you've done over a very long time, like 15 odd years plus, with UX Australia, which has been a key part of the design community in Australia and definitely Sydney, and UX Book Club before then, and all the things. So, and what you're doing. Thanks, mate. It's awesome.
Thank you.
So that stuff coming up, but living in the now, it's time to hand over to the fun. And Alan and Dee will tell us a bit about shapeshifters and what we're in for tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Is this thing working? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can.
So hi everyone. It's it's such an honor to be kicking off 2025 for Sydney Design Thinking. It's a little bit for those of you whose first time it is here. It's not usually so hands-on and interactive. So you don't have to sketch at every one of the Sydney Design Thinking meetups.
Although we encourage you to. So.
Yes, we do have a little scribe corner usually happening, but so today we're going to be doing some fun interactive things, and hopefully everyone has a sketchbook in front of you. If you don't have a pen, please raise your hand, we'll give you one.
The clicker's not working, the battery must be full, so
I'll
yeah.
just do this. Does that work?
Try now.
Right, okay.
I'm trapped. I'm going.
All right. First off, we wanted to say hello and thank our team who are here with us tonight. So we've got, well, you know me, Alan, Diana. We've also got Pradeep over here. Lily was going to join us, but she had to do something last second. So, but we also have Rudy and Jomar over here. So, a bit more of our Shapeshifters crew with us tonight. But hopefully, we'll have some fun together.
Yeah.
Now, to kick things off. Oh, actually, sorry, no. That first.
Just a little bit about shapeshifters in case you're interested. So what we do is we combine, we're a little team in Sydney, based in Sydney, and we combine visual thinking with design thinking and human-centered design methods to help teams and organizations communicate with more impact. And we do this with through a lot of different ways, and usually the output is visual stories that help people come on the same page and communicate better.
Yeah, we tend to draw a lot, so you'll see that, and I think you'll get that vibe. And to kick things off tonight, I think we'll have a fun little exercise for you to all start with. So what we're going to need to for all of you to do is to pair up, ideally with the person sitting opposite you. right? So everybody pair up, open up your sketchbooks, get your pens out.
The activity is called blind contour drawing.
It's very short. Okay, so, alright, so everybody, here's the rules for today.
So do you want to hear the rules for the game?
Okay. So this is an exercise called blind contour drawing. You need to pair up with the person opposite you, and you need to draw the person opposite you, but you can't look down at the paper that you're drawing on. Okay? So you cannot look down. And there's one other rule that is very important to keep in mind. You've got 2 minutes to do the drawing. You can't do it in anything less than the 2 minutes. So you've got to spend the entire 2 minutes drawing the person opposite you. So take your time.
So, one important rule, don't look down on the paper. Don't look down. Just look.
Start now.
Starting now. Start.
The partner needs to keep a count of times. The other person has to.
Make sure your partner is not looking down at their paper. Just look into each other's eyes. I can see lots of people look into each other's eyes. No looking down. No looking down.
Definitely too much look down. Okay.
Just look into each other's eyes.
And remember, you've got to draw for the whole 2 minutes.
Just challenge yourself. No looking down. No looking down. Just keep each other accountable.
If this exercise is a little bit weird, it totally makes sense. It is supposed to be weird, but about 20 odd years ago, when I was shown this exercise by my art school teacher, his name is Matthias Gerber, Archibald Prize-winning portrait artist. He used to get us to do this for 21 minutes for 6 weeks, and that was very, very difficult. And you know, we used to find it absolutely excruciating, not looking down for 21 minutes, and it was very difficult. Now, what he said is, at the end of this process, really, this particular exercise is designed to get you into the state of flow. Now, when I say the state of flow, that kind of makes sense to most of you, I imagine, right? So you could be doing kind of anything to get into the state of flow, but we know that it's usually kind of hard to get into the state of flow. Now, when you do this exercise for an extended period, you can actually get yourself into a state where you kind of shut off that really critical part of your mind, which is often saying, oh, I can't draw, or this looks terrible, or whatever it is, right? And the moment that kind of quietens down, you really get access to a lot more of your creative potential. So, you know, think about it. 2 minutes was very, very small. Try it for a little bit longer next time.
But as you can see, it wasn't about your drawing skills at all. It's about just warming up the creative muscle.
Okay, what have we got next?
Now that you're all warmed up, we're gonna actually jump into drawing, and we're gonna. For those of you who have come to some of the Sydney Design Thinking meetups last year, you would have seen a scribe sitting on the side and taking visual notes while the presentations are happening. And it was projected live here, or if we were somewhere else, it was on paper. And what they were doing was listening on the spot and synthesizing the conversation and drawing out the insights that they were finding. And so this is what we're going to give you a taste of today, how to do that.
And it might look a little bit like magic sometimes, like it's really, really quick, and sometimes, you know, and suddenly you get this really nice kind of completed image, but it's really a combination of techniques, and we'll teach you a couple of those things so that you can make use of it yourself, and you can see how visual thinking can be a really powerful tool to help you think and kind of create space for new ideas.
So we're illustrators and artists, but we believe that visual thinking is for everyone. Everyone can use that as a language to communicate with others. It's basically a language just like any other. And now Alan's gonna be jumping onto this screen, so you can follow along here. That's his iPad. And we're gonna be showing you that visual thinking is the visual language is a language like any other, so that means that it has an alphabet. And once you realize that, it's got Are you going to draw the alphabet?
I will. You're going a bit faster.
So, like any other language, you've got an alphabet, and once you learn that alphabet, you can create words, and then you can create sentences, and then you can communicate freely, right? And creatively with it. And so, the same works for the visual language. We've got these simple shapes and lines that basically make up any image. No matter how complex it is, no matter how simple it is, you can use these simple shapes, a circle, a square, a triangle, a swirl, a dot, and combine them to create the images that you want. And now when we're doing this, we're not actually creating a piece of art, a masterpiece. You can, but what our aim is to communicate with it. So you don't necessarily need to create a poem, you're just communicating to the other person.
Now, one thing I was going to say about these symbols is, no matter where you come from, what kind of culture you may have, or where you were born, these kind of images, these visual markings are a universal language that are kind of encoded into us since birth, right? Now, think about it. When we are children, we learn to read images way before we learn to actually read words, because in order to use words, you actually have to understand some rules, to create sentences, and so on and so forth. Visuals, however, nobody explicitly teaches you what gestures mean, what expression means. So this is actually a inbuilt language to all of us. We just need to be able to recognize it. And the moment you start to use it purposefully, like we'll show you this little exercise, you'll realize that it's actually quite simple to break down any kind of image. Well, thanks for that.
That's right. So if I want to create a house, that's a simple thing. What simple geometric shapes would I use to draw a house? A square and a triangle. And that would be recognized almost by anyone that it's a house. I can also add to it a door, another square, a rectangle, a chimney. So combining these simple shapes. All right, so to draw a house, and I think everyone should try it in their sketchbooks. You combine a square and a triangle, you've got a house. Let's say I want to draw a mountain. That's even easier. What would you do? Squiggly lines, they're usually, so like zigzags or triangles, yeah? Let's say we combine two triangles. If we want to really make it look like a mountain, we can add a zigzag line or a squiggly line to the tip of it.
Yeah, that's what the clouds, right?
It's for the tip. No, you can add clouds, yeah. All right, a bus.
Wheels? Circles?
Yep, but the main shape of a bus, so you always have the main shape. It's a rectangle. And then to make it actually recognizable as a bus, you would add the circles as wheels, right?
Yeah.
And then you just keep building on that. So it can get as complex as you like. Now let's say we want to do something a bit more complicated. What would
Why
we
don't we
do?
try some people?
People.
Let's move this up a little bit.
Circle for the head.
Okay.
I don't want to say I'll get it wrong. Stick.
I don't think there's wrong answers actually.
So
Why don't you
wait.
just try to draw in your sketchbook and see if you get it the same as the others. Everyone will draw something different, I'm sure. But stick figures are actually, I know lots of people who say, oh, I can only draw stick figures, but they're a great way to communicate people and what they're doing. So it's a very good visual communication tool. Now, if you don't want to draw a stick figure, you can draw what Alan drew, and it's a kind of an oval, a bit of a cropped oval for the body.
I think what's nice about doing something like this is that you have a little bit of volume, and it just makes the image just look a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
It
So
has
you
more
just-
weight, right?
Yeah, you're basically thickening it, right?
Yeah. Now, if you were to draw somebody doing an action pose, let's say jumping, you use the same elements, but you can kind of bend them, stretch them, squish them, so that they, really do what you need them to do. So, let's say this is somebody leaping. And you still have that nice volume that you can work with.
And it's still quite simple, right?
Exactly.
What you're doing, I think the key here is observation. So if you look at a reference image or observe people and the way they're moving, and just try to copy that, the direction of their body and the way, the poses, then you'll kind of get the hang of it. And it's really about practice.
So each time you think about a person in a dynamic motion, you really, one of the things that you're starting with is the torso, right? So which way is the torso going to be facing? And we start with the torso because it's the largest surface area. So if I want to draw somebody pushing, for instance, again, I might start with the torso and lead to something like the legs, the arms. And suddenly you have somebody pushing. Maybe the back leg, you want to make it a little straighter like this.
And it's all about iteration, right? To get it right. Okay, so now we've got like basically literal representations of what we want to create, right? A house, a mountain, a bus, a person doing something. What if you want to represent concepts, like a bit more intangible, things that are not literal, they're not objects. Thoughts, ideas. You can use metaphors, you can use the same kind of things. So you can use these same simple shapes and drawings to represent concepts. So for example, for a house, if I add other elements to it, I might be able to represent the concept of safety. Perhaps adding hearts, a love heart inside. Or I think Alan's drawing hands, is that right?
Yeah, two hands supporting the house. So, you know, something like safety, you're thinking about also the emotion that goes with it. Not necessarily the action, but the emotion. Now, what happens if we add something like a flag to the mountaintop? What does that become? Success, goal.
Yeah.
Add a little bit of ground to the bus.
So if you're trying to convey these slightly more complex concepts, like the bus is now, we can see it's moving. You can talk about, we can be talking about movement, change, what else?
Let's look at the people here, right? So I add a little bit of environmental aspects, and suddenly the people are doing things that are potentially conceptual, like this could be a leap of faith.
So you've got a story. So you're basically adding a bit of context to the person and what they're doing, and then suddenly you've got a bit of an emotional story that's happening.
Exactly, and those little elements, they may not be very complicated, but they immediately add something that makes the image relatable. And I think that's the key to what you're creating is, you know, can I relate to this? Does this make sense to me? You know, those three little lines on top of the person's head who's pushing the boulder, nobody tells you that that's straining, but it looks, you know, the idea is pushing. Like it's difficult, and you might add some lines that are shaky. You know, this is hard. Pushing something uphill.
Okay, so maybe I can ask you all a question. Does anyone here think they can't draw? Two people, okay. What, can you hold up your sketchbook? You drew.
Copy.
That's where you should start, actually. Yeah, so in order...
Kidney could probably do better than me.
Well, that's because they do it every day and without hesitation. I think that's something that we don't do well as grown-ups. Like the more, as we grow up, we just start having all these inhibitions and judging ourselves that we just stop drawing. And it's such a powerful tool of communication, right? Because I always give the example of being in a meeting. Like when we're in a meeting, when people are in a meeting and they're all kind of nodding their heads and agreeing on things, most of the time we walk out of that meeting not having the same ideas in our minds. We might think that we've agreed on the same things, but half of the time we forget what we're supposed to do, and the other half we may not have actually aligned. And so communication using visuals can help people align and make sure that they're on the same page, literally.
Because the other thing is, words are rather abstract things, right? So the moment you visualize something, you create shared understanding of something. So that's why visual thinking is such a powerful tool, because it literally puts everybody on the same page.
And I know you said it's copying, but now the next exercise, you're going to do your own ideas. And hopefully you get to realize that just knowing that you can break anything down to these simple shapes and still communicate it, just like the simplest, most basic shape that you can make it recognizable, hopefully that will help. But I just wanted to say that also visual communication is mapping. Like you can, like diagrams, arrows, lines, connectors, they're very helpful for people to actually visualize connections between ideas, right?
Exactly. I think being able to map complex systems is one of the most useful tools or useful things that visual thinking can help you do. So Diana's going to walk you through a little exercise which will hopefully give you an opportunity to map something that you might think has a bit of complexity, but hopefully you'll see that it is quite straightforward. Okay.
Since you can only see the top half of the board, I've drawn.
Since you can only see the top half of the board, I've drawn a little page. So that represents your sketchbook. But we're going to give you a little exercise, and it's about mapping journeys.
That's right. So we want you to think about the journey that you took today from your home to work. Right? So we want you to consider this as a bit of a timeline. So Diana, what would you draw to represent that kind of line?
If you work from home, maybe here.
Or getting from yes, exactly. Getting from home to here. If you work from home, that's fine. But how did you arrive here tonight?
I'm going to draw a line.
Yeah. So Diana's drawn a line, but pay attention to the fact that she didn't draw it from edge to edge of the page. There's a little bit of a gap. That's intentional, so maybe that's something that you could do too. So just draw a line across your page, leave a little bit of a gap. Yes, a blank page. And turn your page landscape. I think this will be a little bit easier for you to do. Now, the great thing about this is you already know the first and the last point. The first is home, the last point is here or work. So you represent that with a very small and simple icon. Don't overcomplicate it. Just a very simple icon that represents home, and a simple icon that represents either here or your place of work. Now, what we want you to think about is 5 key touch points that you experienced on your way here. These could be, a cup of coffee that you picked up along the way, somebody that you spoke to, something that you might have watched on YouTube, or a book that you're reading. But 5 key things.
So just to note that when we did that line, I was trying to represent the journey, right? It could be a winding road, it could be anything. We just chose to do a horizontal straight line. But what we were doing is trying to, can you still see it? Trying to just plan out the space, because you don't want to just draw everything in one little corner. So that's what I tried to do, is just pre-plan, okay, I'm going to represent my whole journey from beginning to end with that line. And so now I'm going to map everything on that line, so I've got the whole page to work with. And what we're going to do is map out the emotional as well as the objective experience. So facts above the line.
Facts above the line, and how you felt below the line. And you might represent that with a little vertical axis that Diana's drawn up. The top being, feeling your best, and the bottom not feeling so great. And what we want you to do is, over the next 5-6 minutes, plot this out, plan this out, and don't just draw icons over there, but also write a small note as to what you might have felt or what you might have experienced.
So now I've drawn a coffee cup, and then below the line I draw a lightning bolt because it gave me energy, and that energy lasted quite a bit. So I I have a bit of a flat line after that, leading to the next experience.
And a bit of a crash.
We'll see. But yeah, so basically what we want you to do now is reflect on your journey, and that's something that visual thinking really helps with, because it's a problem-solving tool. We use it all the time with teams to help them with collaboration when they're trying to solve a problem or align on something.
And usually, even if something is very complex or ends up being very polished, it always starts off with a simple sketch. I think a good example is Martin and Steve's book, Design Tomorrow. When we were working on it, we produced a whole bunch of very rough initial concepts. Martin and Steve also sketched up a whole bunch of rough initial concepts, but then eventually we were able to then turn this into something that is like a consistent visual style.
Yeah, and what was helpful was we were in the same room kind of sketching and talking about the sketches, so there was literally no miscommunication.
Okay, so now 5 minutes to go through, plot this journey, take a couple of notes, and then we'll have a brief chance to have a look at what you've done.
I was drawing really small so that I can stay in the top of the screen, but you can add words. So I got a coffee from a cafe that I love called Culture Bean, so I'm going to write Culture Bean. You can label, home. You can use arrows to make connections.
And you've all probably come across journey maps, but this is a simple journey map. Maybe less complex than the ones that you're accustomed to seeing, but it's also really quick. Something that you could do rapidly without too much fuss. And I think that's an important part of it, because it also allows you to think. The finesse of it is not so important. It's really the thinking part.
And I think as you go, it's really helpful because you start making connections. Oh, that's why I was feeling down at that point. What are the important interactions that you had that made you, yeah.
So about halfway through, don't forget to do the emotions part too, because I think it's important to, in this particular instance, to assess how you're feeling at different points.
How do I feel about you?
So is there a challenging part that you're facing, or I actually see that everyone's drawing, there's no hesitation, it's amazing. That's so cool.
It's very quiet. I think you're all concentrating. It's on. You can see so many really interesting sketches.
For the designers in the room, you may find a bit of a connection between this and a journey map. I mean, this is a journey map. It's just more visual. So we actually work a lot with UX designers and researchers to visualize. Usually journey maps have a lot of data and they're very dense. And so we sometimes help them tell the story, because there's always an emotional story. You're telling the story of humans. You're trying to solve human problems. And so we usually help them visualize the story and the emotions at the top of the journey map. So the details are still there, but you can see a big arching story first.
I think one of the problems with journey maps is there's a bit of an assumption that everybody's interested in what you're presenting, and that is not always the case. And so adding visuals to the journey map is a way of breaking through those assumptions, so that there is something for people to anchor their thoughts in. They might say, "Oh, that's kind of curious." So it's actually bridging that gap. So if people are confronted with a mountain of data, their first reaction is going to be like, "Oh, this is amazing! I'm going to dive straight in." It's usually going to be like, "Get this the hell away from me! This is too crazy." It's there's no synthesis here. So by adding visuals to it, you're immediately presenting something that is a bit more attractive. Okay, so I think that was time. Now, everybody, can you hold up what you've done? Let us have a quick look. Wow, there's a great range of styles too, from very minimal to super complex. It's amazing to see the same structure used in about 100 different ways, I would say. This is fantastic.
Amazing. I'm going to just take a quick photo.
Gonna take a quick snap.
Great.
Wonderful. Okay, so
Okay, so now that you've done the easy parts, we're going to get you all to sketchnote. So a sketchnote is basically, I'm sure everyone's taken notes before. It's notes, but they're visual. So you're using drawings and words to take your notes. Okay, and what you're creating basically is a bit of a map or blueprint of a conversation or something you're listening to, or even a reflection of your day or experience, whatever that is. So this is what a sketchnote usually looks like. A blank page. This is a simple, we're going to give you a simple way to start, but really it can look like anything. We've got some amazing sketchnoters among us here today, so at the end maybe they can show their work. Morteza, looking at you, and Pradeep. But basically, this is an easy way to start. And the way you start is a grid.
it's a fairly simple grid. So everybody should turn their page horizontally again. You divide it in half horizontally, and then you want to create 3 equally spaced vertical columns. And it's what we call a 2x3 grid. And this 2x3 grid is great for short conversations. It's just a nice way to map things out. And it's kind of an underlying structure to sketchnotes. Now, as you go along, when you begin a sketchnote, it's great to start with the title. And oftentimes, if we're drawing a simple person speaking, you'll have a face and a title. So it might be the name of the speaker, and their face. You're going to have an opportunity to sketchnote something today. So we're just showing you right now some of the structure that you might be able to use.
Okay, so each one of these boxes, you're going to fill it up with 1 or 2 key points. So obviously, you're not going to be able to fit everything that the person's saying in those 6 boxes. So that's actually the idea. No one walks out of a presentation remembering everything. Usually the rule is we remember 3 to 5 points if it's a very, very engaging presentation. So what this is doing is actually creating anchors for our memory. So when we look at it, we're going to remember more of the ideas that were discussed, that are connected.
Now, as you go along, as Diana mentioned, you're not going to be able to fit every single point. So these boxes are kind of designed to limit the amount of stuff that you can capture. You're only after the essentials, right? So the way we might do that is a couple of words, and we combine that usually with some very simple imagery.
Yeah, so you can also put words in boxes. Don't write full sentences, just write key phrases. You can connect them with arrows and different shapes. The containers actually don't need to be boxes, they can be any shape, right?
Yeah, they could be literally, like we often use clouds or people as containers. Now, the imagery that you use is very important because the images should have some degree of relevance to what the person is saying, but also has some relevance to you. Because the sketchnote, I think primarily when you begin, it should be for yourself. It's something that you're creating that will help you remember key points of a conversation. So, whether you combine little metaphors, and little diagrams, those are the things that will help create visual landmarks for you to remember.
Yeah, so think of what we talked about before, like a house can be a house, but it can also represent a more complex thought or idea, like safety.
Now, we often add people when we're sketchnoting, and I think that's something that we do intentionally, because the relatability of what people are saying is very important to us. So physical actions, they often have a great role to play when you create a sketchnote, because they help you remember possibly what was happening to the person at that time, or something that that person might have experienced or felt.
Yeah, and as you listen, you will capture a bit of the emotion. You can read between the lines, you can see the expression of the speakers and how they're presenting, and you'll be able to actually visualize that through your drawings. So listen for those emotional parts, because that's what will trigger your memory of what was talked about.
And the emotion gets revealed over time. Like it usually takes a person when they're up and giving a talk, it takes a couple of minutes for the themes or the emotions to actually be revealed. And the other great thing about it is relationships between ideas also begin to be revealed. So you can connect those things with lines, you can connect them with gestures. There are lots of different little things that you can use to bridge ideas. And then, when you're wrapping things up, sometimes a quote is good, but it really depends on the situation. There's no hard, fast rule, like it's got to be this or it's got to be that. But usually at the end of a talk, at the end of a presentation, there is a point that you might walk away with that is interesting. Now, an important thing to kind of pay attention to is the visual flow. In this particular one, we've kind of got this zigzagging flow, but you can just as easily go crossways, which helps you kind of navigate as well. And the reason we do that is you want to be able to direct your eye, the eye, in a way that helps it move. So think about when you go and watch a movie or you go to the theatre. Chances are the shots aren't the same exact thing, or the scenes don't look exactly the same. And that's so we actually remember what's happening. It's dynamic, it's very human. Life is like that, right? It moves, it kind of snakes, it turns, and it's different things, right? So using the same principles, a sketch note should move your eye in different, from place to place. And you should also change up the scale. So one thing you'll notice from a good sketch note is that the items, all the elements, they're unlikely to be exactly the same size or exactly the same scale. And if they are, it becomes a little bit harder for you to actually navigate. So don't be afraid to make some things bigger, something smaller, because there's emphasis.
Yeah, the things that stood out more to you, they can be bigger. The things that are more details, they can be smaller, so you can vary that thing. And also think about text as image as well. It's a visual thing, so you can convey a lot by making a text bolder or bigger or smaller and weaker. And one last thing, when you're doing this, it's really an exercise of listening. It's less about your drawing skills. So you need to, yes, there's lots of tips that we've given you, but it's more about letting go and just listening and allowing that relationship between your mind and your hand that's really powerful to kind of come through, and letting go of a bit of that control and seeing what actually is happening. How are you synthesizing your ideas?
Yeah, I think the important thing now in this next part is all the rules that we've just told you, toss it all out the door, have fun. Understand that the elements that we've presented to you, there are some relationships between things, but it's not important for you to use this exact structure. It's just one of the many ways that you can kind of tackle things.
Yeah, and the lines at the beginning that we told you to draw, the grid, that's more like, as you practice, you need to draw a grid. You'll just, kind of see it. But it's really more about just, before you start, just look at the page and just kind of think about how you're going to fill it up, so you don't just draw in one little corner or run out of space.
Yeah, it's being intentional about using the space that you have. Okay, so
and have fun.
Now you should all have a brand new page, because you'll get the chance to actually do a live sketch note and see what it feels like. Test it out for yourself. And we have a very special talk or speaker who will share his story with you. And hopefully give you some ideas that you can kind of try to capture in 10 minutes. Now, there's one tip. Don't try to capture everything. because you can't, right? Not even the most seasoned sketchnote artist is able to capture every single point, and we don't try to. We just try to do the things that stand out to us. So we're going to hand over.
Yeah, we're going to hand over to Pradeep, who a lot of you know and a lot of you have heard his story. He's going to share his story with you, and at the end, we would love to see what you've done. So we've got a link, and we've got a Padlet link for you to upload, and we'll just see the sketchnotes pop up. Okay? Yeah, so over to you.
So we quickly came to this point, right? I was enjoying the show. So yes, Alan usually tries to kind of throw surprises at me, and yesterday evening he told me that I would be doing this part, I would be telling my story. And believe me, all stories are good, it's only the presenter, the storyteller makes it good or bad. I'll try my best today. So yeah, I'll start my story. It all began when we got a long-awaited PR in 2023. It was 4 years wait, and then it came in a time when we were least expecting it. We had renovated our house and then recently moved into that house. We had adopted a dog who became my son. So, and then I was also transitioning between my jobs. So it was all going good, and then this PR came. We were excited, and we were also anxious because we were leaving behind everything that we had built back at home. So it was not easy. We were leaving behind our relatives, friends, job, the social security that we had, and now we had a dog as well. We didn't know what to do with it. At that point, yeah.
We didn't tell them that you were.
Oh, I'm from India, yes. So my hometown is Bangalore, so that's where I come from. Yeah. At that point, we decided that we'll take Milo, that's my dog, that we will take him as well to Australia, and then it was a big moment. There's a lot of calculation that happened behind it. We decided, and then we said, okay, we'll go to Australia now, and then we'll have a good life. So Milo left 15 days before us, and then after that, in May 31st, 15 days after Milo left us, we started towards Australia. 31st, we boarded, and then June 1st, we landed in Sydney. So Milo left 15 days before us because he had to spend 180 days in a rabies-free country, and then he had to come to Melbourne, spend another 10 days in quarantine, and then join us. So that was the whole story. So there was a lot of anxious moment there because we were parting from Milo. He wouldn't see us for 180 days. We didn't know how he would handle it. We didn't know how he would handle the flight journey. So with all this, we landed in Australia, and then it was all good. It was like what we expected. It was beautiful. The air was fresh, thin. It really felt good. The city was vibrant. The grass was greener, and we could see cockatoos flying everywhere. I mean, that was really amazing for us because I had only seen cockatoos in zoos. I mean, and then I was so happy. And then there were these rainbow lorikeets. They were flocking everywhere. I'd only seen pigeons like that. So yeah, it was all good. I think initial few days we enjoyed a lot. We were so happy that we were here. And then that's when the reality struck us. It was soon that we discovered there was a rental crisis happening here. There was housing crisis. Living expenses is too high. And also at that point, and even today maybe, the job market was not so welcoming. So yeah, it soon struck us. The reality struck us, and then we were really anxious. We started applying for jobs right from the first week, and then maybe until the next 6 months, we kept on doing the same. And yes, with no results. We were eating from our savings, and it is a very, very stressful thing, I might say, because you have saved something for the rainy day, and then you want to save it as much as possible, even in the rainy day. But still, you are coming to an end of it now. And then you still don't have a job. And that is what we were going through. And at that moment, we looked at our daughter, Anna. She was 10 then. She was really enjoying it. Like, she was the one who got accustomed to the Australian life. She liked the school, she liked us teachers, she had made friends. And that's when he said, okay, if she is happy, then maybe we should not lose hope, and then we continued. And luckily, just before our Christmas break in December 2023, Ramya, my wife, she got her first job, and then after the holiday, it became much more easier. We were less stressed because we were not worried about money anymore. We were not eating from our savings. So it all was good. But still, I hadn't found my job yet. So I was still at home alone while Ramya was at work, and then Anargya, she was at school. I was there alone. Luckily, Milo came in the February, and then that was the peak, that was the high point in our journey. So it was really good. That was the best part of my life. You should have seen it. I mean, the way he kind of came to us, it was a beautiful, I mean, it was all worth it. This money that spent, the anxiety that we had in moving him, it was all worth it. So Milo was there with me, and that's the only thing which was helping me at that moment. I was at a lot of stress. Maybe I was depressed as well. I started losing doubt in myself. And that's when I started doing freelance jobs so that I am in touch with my skills. I started going to meetups so that I meet people, network with people. And I also did an online course so that I am in still touch with what I'm doing. So all these were happening, and in these meetups is what things changed. In these meetups, I realized Sydney has a wonderful design community. It was going good. I mean, I started networking and meeting good people. And in one such event, 99th edition of Sydney Design Thinking, is when I saw Alan, Diana, and I kind of got introduced to graphical note taking, live scribing. Though I've been practicing visual design, I've been an illustrator for about 15 years. This was something new for me. I didn't know about it. I think the 100th edition, I saw Alan do the live scribing, and I got really hooked onto that. I mean, I wanted to do it. I wanted to put my skills to a good purpose. And I think 101th edition, I also did a live scribing. I did several live scribing after that. I would go to all these events, sit in a corner, away from people, just so that they don't see what I'm doing. And then I would make spelling mistakes. I would have a very bad handwriting, but I would still do that. And in one of those events, again in Sydney, a design thinking event, I got a live scribe, one of those talks, and my screen was projected on screen. It was not easy, but I did it. I mean, it gave me a good comfort that I could do that. And from then on, I realized that this visual documentation that I'm kind of learning now, I can incorporate that in my life. So I started slicing down my life, added those crucial moments like you guys did a few minutes ago. And those moments, I started scribing it now. I started visually documenting. So I started with Milo coming to us, following us to Australia. So that entire journey, I kind of scribed it. And followed with many things, like some of those crucial moments in my life. And I created a body of work. So what that did to me was, there were three things I got benefited out of it. First thing was, it was very therapeutic. Because I was going through a lot of stress at that moment, I had so much of anxiety, it kind of helped me slow down, look into different aspects of my life and try to document that. And it kind of liberated me from that moment, I mean the anxiety or the stress that moment had created on me, I kind of got liberated out of it. Second, I kind of started promoting my skills. I mean, I could stand out in this crowded thing. So all those scribes, I would put it on LinkedIn, I would kind of share it with people, and then it kind of gave me the attention that was needed. Third was the community. It's a beautiful community. I mean, I could engage with this community more because of what I was doing. Now today I stand here, I still don't have a job that pays me well, or still, I mean, there's uncertainty with my job. But to be honest, I'm in a very good place today. I'm less anxious, I'm more confident, I'm part of a community now, and yes, that's the end of the story. I don't know if I killed my own story.
That was actually amazing. Thank you, Pradeep.
Thank you.
So you should be now finishing it up, and there's a QR code on the screen. We would love to see what you came up with. No judgment here, this is a safe space. The Sydney Design Thinking has always been a safe space for live scribing. And yeah, take the QR code, take a photo of your sketch note and just upload it. We'll give you a couple of minutes.
And in case you didn't know,
QR code.
Shapeshifters has been sponsoring scribes who are keen to try out live scribing for the first time at Sydney Design Thinking. So if any of you are actually interested in trying to do this, come see us. We'll give you some tips on how you might do it. And it's very fun. It's also a great skill to be able to develop yourself. So yeah, definitely come and talk to us.
Yeah, so at every meetup every month, we've got one volunteer who does it on a big piece of paper or on a projector, an iPad. And yeah, if you're interested, we actually mentor them beforehand, so
yeah,
you get free mentoring.
What's kind of interesting is there's about 70 of us here today. Normally, Diana and myself and the Think Visual community, we run our own meetup. The first one was yesterday. First one of the year was yesterday. And I think that the next one will be on the 12th of March. But anyway, the point was, we normally say, it's probably the place where you can see people live scribing the most. Like yesterday we had about 50 people live scribing. It was amazing. But I think today we just broke that record. There's about 70 of us doing it here. So yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what people come up with.
There's only 2 sketch notes. We'll go back. It's okay if it's not done.
Yeah, it's okay.
I promise it's going to be awesome to see everyone's work.
Just be nice to see where you got to. We know that doing it for the first time is actually quite difficult. Yesterday we had fellow designer Sophie. She'd never live scribed before, and she got up in front of everybody and live scribed using a finger on a touch screen, and that was bloody hard. So we get it. It can be a little bit tricky, but we'd just love to see where you got to, what you took out of the talk.
And was it Stokesy speaking?
Yes. Yesterday was Sarah Stokes speaking.
Put your hand up, Stokesy.
Show us your sketch note. Can we see your sketch note, Sarah?
I'm doing it now.
Has everyone got the QR code?
Should we swap?
And then at the end, we'll also show you what Pradeep drew,
Yeah?
because Pradeep also drew his story. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so we've got 3. That's weird. How come it's like that? Oh wait, there's a bunch more underneath.
I don't know if there's a way
Can
to.
you expand?
No idea.
Actually, you know who to ask is Morteza. So Morteza, any tips on using Padlet? We see you. So Morteza, come over here. Oh, you can cycle through. Oh wait, we've
That way
got
to the gallery.
43.
Okay.
That's cool.
This is not bad.
Thank you.
I wonder if we can go. No, wait, we're stuck.
I'll just go through them like
Go
that.
through them. It's amazing.
Wow.
What do you think, Pradeep? So Pradeep's normally the person scribing, but this time he's got like 50 different sketch notes of his story. Pretty bloody amazing.
There's lots of amazing imagery in there. I really want to
Wow.
look at each one in detail. Wow.
It's awesome. Milo returns. I like that. No, it's good. This is wonderful. Oh, digital. Dig it.
Oh,
Sarah.
Go back to it.
Very cool.
Oh,
Very
someone
nice.
drew you as well.
Somebody drew me. What? So as we're going through this, I think it's amazing to see that from the same talk, everyone kind of walks away with slightly different things, and it's kind of what makes it quite special and unique and human. So I think, I mean, this is it. This is just a great way to see the way you all think and what you see.
Who's done this for the first time now? That's
awesome.
Almost everyone. That's great. Wow. Well, it's very impressive. I hope you will take this and use it. It's a really good.
Yes.
Oh, is that Morteza?
Morteza. Unmistakable style.
Morteza,
he's a fantastic scribe. Although you still have yet to do it live, Morteza, so we've got to get you up here.
So
maybe next one.
The next Sydney Design Thinking Meetup in 2 months' time.
It's just kind of a nice way to see that the structure of a sketchnote does not have to follow any particular thing. We just gave you one, but there's so many. There's kind of a almost infinite number of ways that you can approach it.
Yeah, and it's a great way to just kind of download your thinking. It's a great way to download your thinking.
Well,
all right, that's it. I think
let's
so.
go to Pradeep's.
We'll show you what Pradeep did. That was a clap to everyone. Great job with the sketch notes.
Thanks for sharing the story.
How do we return? We're going to show you what Pradeep did. He did his own sketch note as well.
Back here.
Yes, back here. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
So this is a reflective piece. So it wasn't live, but it was an amazing way to reflect. Do you want to say anything about it? Quickly, because we have maybe 30 seconds.
No pressure.
It's all the same that I told. Yeah, like I told you, in some of these pieces, we were also regretting coming to Australia at that moment. Should we have done this? It kind of helped me kind of get in terms with some of the decisions that we had already taken. So we just had to move forward from there. It was amazing when I worked on this thing. It looks whatever it is, but for me it was more like a medicine at that moment. Yeah, so that is what it is. Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for being so ready to sketch and try this. And if any of you is interested to volunteer for the next Sydney Design Thinking meetups, it doesn't have to be the next one, anyone in the next year. Just come up to us, let us know, and we'll happily give you some advice.
Oh, and if you're keen, you can also try our meetup, which is called Think Visual. It's every second Wednesday of the month. Our next one is on the 12th of March. Follow us up there. That'll take you to our Eventbrite link. There's some free visual thinking resources on one of our websites, so go ahead and check it out.
And thank you. If anyone has any of the pens with the pink sticker, can you please return them to the front? The sketchbooks are for you, but we need the pens. Thank you.
You've got to wear the pin forever. It's been a very interactive session, so I just want to say a huge thanks again to Alan and Dee and Pradeep for sharing the story as well. It was an awesome way to kick off 2025 for SydDT. Are there any burning questions, or has it been interactive enough and we're ready to go to the pub? Let's do the questions at the pub. So we're going to the Oki, the Old Man Pub across the road, nice and easy. So this is part one of the meetup, part two is over there. We need to get out of here soon. So the bins are over there, so take recycling, rubbish. You can help us out there, that'd be awesome. But thanks for coming along tonight, and again, a huge thanks to Alan, Dee, Pradeep, the rest of the team, and you. And thanks everyone. See you next month. And here's the QR code. Hit that. Bye.